Shocking revelation. Why over 120,000 ballots were discarded in the 2025 snap election. Voters outraged and demand answers. The 2025 Canadian snap federal election, held on April 28 under newly elected Prime Minister Mark Carney, was expected to be a clear and swift exercise in democracy. However, the post-election period was marred by widespread confusion and outrage after news broke that more than 120,000 mail-in ballots were not counted. This revelation spread rapidly across social media platforms, sparking alarm among voters who feared that their voices were being silenced. The term discarded ballots circulated heavily, painting a picture of possible electoral negligence or intentional wrongdoing. But the truth behind these uncounted ballots is far more complex and deserves careful examination. At the heart of the issue are the special mail-in ballots requested by Canadians unable or unwilling to vote in person during the snap election. Approximately 1.3 million voters requested these ballots to participate remotely, a process designed to accommodate seniors, people with disabilities, those living abroad, or others facing barriers to in-person voting. While about 1.2 million of these ballots were successfully returned and counted, roughly 121,000 were not included in the official tally. This sizable figure understandably raised red flags among many citizens who questioned how so many votes could simply disappear from the democratic process. It is crucial to clarify what not counted actually means in this context. Elections Canada, the independent agency responsible for managing federal elections, confirmed that these ballots were not discarded by choice but were excluded primarily because they were either never returned by the voters or arrived after the official deadline. According to strict electoral rules, all mail-in ballots must be physically received by the close of polls on Election Day. Simply mailing a ballot on or after Election Day does not guarantee it will be counted. This deadline exists to ensure that election results can be finalized promptly and that the voting process remains transparent and secure. This reality reveals a common but significant misunderstanding among voters. Many believe that requesting a mail-in ballot means their vote will automatically count, regardless of when or how the ballot is mailed back. However, once a voter opts for a mail-in ballot, their name is removed from the list of in-person voters, meaning they relinquish their option to vote at polling stations. If the mail-in ballot is not returned on time, unfortunately, the voter loses their opportunity to have their voice heard in that election cycle. This procedural fact, while necessary for election integrity, is often overlooked or underestimated by the electorate. The 2025 snap election came with heightened challenges. The shorter campaign timeline compressed the window in which voters could request, receive, complete, and return their mail-in ballots. To mitigate the issues experienced during the 2021 federal election, where tens of thousands of mail-in ballots arrived too late to be counted, Elections Canada implemented an earlier cutoff date for requesting special ballots, approximately a week before Election Day. Despite these efforts, the tight timeline and public unfamiliarity with the updated deadlines contributed to a significant number of ballots being unreturned or arriving late. The public reaction to the headline figures was swift and intense. Many Canadians expressed deep frustration and suspicion that the electoral process was flawed or that their votes were being deliberately excluded. Social media became a hotbed of accusations, conspiracy theories, and calls for accountability. Citizens demanded explanations from both Elections Canada and the Carney government, eager for transparency and assurances that no votes had been suppressed. This groundswell of anger underscored the importance Canadians place on the democratic process and their right to have every valid vote counted. Political leaders responded by emphasizing that Elections Canada is an independent and professional agency committed to running free and fair elections. Mark Carney himself addressed the issue, underscoring the government's support for election integrity and promising a full audit to understand the circumstances behind the uncounted ballots. The audit, expected by October, aims to provide detailed insights into how many ballots were late, unreturned, or affected by administrative issues. Such a comprehensive review is intended to restore public trust and identify improvements for future elections. Experts and election officials alike pointed out that while 121,000 uncounted ballots is a large number, it is not unprecedented in Canadian federal elections. The mail-in voting system inherently faces logistical challenges, including postal delays, voter errors, and timing constraints. The key lesson from this situation is the ongoing need for robust voter education campaigns that clearly communicate deadlines and procedures. Many voters may have requested ballots too close to the deadline or misunderstood the mailing requirements, inadvertently disenfranchising themselves. Furthermore, this episode highlights the balancing act between making voting accessible and maintaining the integrity and timeliness of election results. Mail-in ballots provide an essential option for many Canadians, but they require clear rules and firm deadlines to prevent delays and confusion. Moving forward, calls are growing for more flexible and accessible voting options, such as extended advance polls, secure drop-off locations for ballots, and better use of digital tools to track and remind voters about deadlines. The controversy also serves as a warning about the dangers of incomplete or misleading information. The original headline stating that 121,000 ballots were discarded created a false impression of wrongdoing and fueled unnecessary outrage. This situation is a textbook example of how facts without context can distort public perception and erode confidence in democratic institutions. Clear, transparent communication from authorities and responsible reporting by media outlets are critical to preventing misinformation and maintaining the health of Canada's democracy. In conclusion, while the headline figure of over 120,000 uncounted ballots in the 2025 snap election is startling, the reality behind the numbers is more about voter behavior and procedural rules than malfeasance. Elections Canada followed the letter of the law, and many of these ballots were simply never returned or arrived too late due to misunderstandings or logistical issues. The Carney government's commitment to auditing the results and improving voter education is a positive step toward ensuring future elections are more inclusive and efficient. Canadians' right to have their vote counted remains a cornerstone of the nation's democratic identity, and efforts to protect that right must continue unabated.